never pictured my first trip to DC would be like this. After we survived the initial attack in New York, our capital needed us. But with the country slipping into civil war, who can we trust?
After months of resilience, we have survived the virus outbreak that crippled our country.
Outside those walls, it's perdition. Whatever you're doing out there, we're not feeling it in here.
But the fight to save our nation from total collapse is far from over.
Get down! Everybody get down!
Ruthless factions threaten to destroy the very fabric of our democracy. Roving packs of hyenas, religious outcasts, and depraved fascists prey on the weak and murder the innocent. For division agents still struggling to hold this country together, it's time we kick our enemies out of their castles. We will not compromise. We will never surrender.
This is our defining moment. Our chance to take back our country. Our chance to shape history.
Terminate any division agents with extreme prejudice.
Okay, so I want to quickly do kind of a breakdown of the trailer that just released a couple of minutes ago for Division 2, because I feel like they're about to enter into their very long hype-up period where they release a bunch of information, and there was some stuff that we can extrapolate from this trailer. It was kind of a generic, marketing piece, nothing too interesting, but I thought it would be a good video to do since it did just come out. So without further ado, I'm just going to play little segments and then talk about it when I see something that's worth talking about, after having spent as much time as I did in the original game and already having some knowledge of the sequel, to say the very least. So let's jump right in. So here we go with some generic hype stuff here.
I never pictured my first trip to DC would be like this. After we survived the initial attack in New York, our capital needed us. But with
So here we get another look at some of the faction NPC enemies, and these ones are the hyenas, I guess. They have gas masks on. It's probably going to be a lot of tear gas, disorientation stuff, but they look fairly, low level. They're not very armored. They're not going to be the harder enemies. They're just going to be, trash mobs in raids and things like that, unless you have some, super archetype that we see later on, but I don't remember seeing one off the top of my head.
the country slipping into civil war, who can we trust?
After months of resilience, we have survived the virus.
Oh, actually, I should go back here. This is clearly going to be your base of operations. That's the base of operations entrance right there, and I don't remember if they already showed this or not, but I was pretty sure it was going to be the White House, and I'll try not to, overstep because there's some stuff I'm not allowed to talk about at the moment, and whatever. Moving on. So this is the base of operations.
Survived the virus outbreak.
It looks to be the same standard format as before. It's probably going to have multiple different wings.
Walls, it's perdition. Whatever you're doing out there, we're not feeling it in here.
But the fight to save our nation from total collapse is far from over.
Get down! Everybody get down!
So more hyenas, that one faction they revealed.
To destroy the very fabric of.
All right, and here we go. This is interesting. So what we have are heavy enemy archetypes, and these we've known about for a while. The thing that's different about Division 2 and the very positive change that I'm actually kind of over the moon about is what they've done is they've created an armor system for enemies where the inside enemy himself is actually very squishy and can be taken down very quickly. but he's got these very thick armor pads on. He's got kind of a ballistic bomb suit, and that takes a lot of bullets. And that's a more realistic feel to the game, rather than just having an enemy that you shoot 100 times in the head, square between the eyes, and nothing happens to him. With this guy, you know, you're shooting, you can see visibly as you chip away the armor, and when a piece of armor is gone, you're able to kill that enemy regardless of which piece of armor it is. If you take off his shoulder armor, you can kill him by shooting that shoulder, and it's still relatively easy. You can take down one piece of armor and then kill that enemy, take down a leg and then shoot him in the leg. Of course, if you take down the helmet armor or the chest armor, it's a much faster kill after that because you'll deal more damage, but it's a very good system of having a shell on top of an actual realistically, you know, strengthened enemy that has a realistic amount of health. So it's a good system, and it's a vast improvement on the original game.
Democracy. Roving pack.
Here, let's go back right quick. Here we see some that have a little bit more armor than the ones before, but again, nothing too major. Again, it seems like the hyenas are a very low-level, easily disposable enemy archetype.
Roving packs of hyenas, religious outcasts, and depraved.
This is pretty cool, the religious outcasts. Now, there was a leak a long time ago that I refrained from talking about, even though I did see it, and it was taken down very quickly and very deliberately by Ubisoft. But the religious faction, I don't know that much about. I just know that it had existed, and it was, you know, the information was out there for a while. They seem pretty cool. So they're going into the faction lore a little bit, which is nice. You know, the original game had cool factions, but I believe that these factions are far superior to the original Tom Clancy's The Division game. I think Division 2 takes a step up in that regard.
Depraved fascists.
Depraved fascists? That sounds pretty cool. These guys are clearly more heavily armored, more tactical, more military. They're probably going to be more difficult. The factions, again, look like they are constructed in such a way where it can add more meaningful and dynamic gameplay.
Fascists prey on the weak and murder the innocent.
This to me looks like Underground, like the actual Underground DLC. Now, I can't say that for a fact, but it clearly looks like an Underground segment, so it might suggest that the Underground DLC will be baked right into the actual game, that you'll have the procedurally generated dungeons down below in a separate hub that you can get to, and that would be really cool. If they incorporate the previous DLC segments of that sort of gameplay into Division 2 from launch, that would mean that it has a more comprehensive endgame loop, and it would be a very big positive step. So I'm hopeful that this is the Underground, and that we will see the resurgence of this and survival in Division 2 from the get-go, but I'm not positive. Classic suicide bomber archetype over here. Pretty much to be expected.
For Division.
This is an example of one of the classes here. The grenade launcher is one of the standard special weapons. I don't know how many there are going to be over the course of the entire game, but there's just a couple in the basic beginning stages. What they've done is adapted it to a class-based system, whereas the first game ended up being a class-based system because the classified gear sets, 6 pieces, ended up forcing you to basically run a 6-piece, and then based on the 6-piece that you ran, you had a class. Now they actually have classes. They're going to have the marksman, the sharpshooter, the survivalist. They're going to have special weapons such as the crossbow, the grenade launcher, the chem launcher, I'm sorry, I think is what it's called, and the sniper rifle. So they've gone with the class-based system without really making it the only option for how to customize your character. So it's a decently positive change.
Agents still struggling to hold this country together. It's time we kick our enemies out of their castles.
A couple examples of skills here and what I would assume are story missions, but nothing really special.
We will not compromise.
The thing I like about this a lot is that it's realistic showcasing of what they have. This is clearly not doctored. This is actual gameplay footage that is being purposed into a trailer here. This isn't a lie. This isn't a downgrade. They really... I can't imagine them downgrading beyond this right here. So this is realistic. This is showing us what we're going to be playing. It's an accurate look, and I respect that, especially in today's modern industry where a lot of times they are disingenuous about the product that they're going to be shipping. This seems to be a very genuine representation of what the game will be. And I like to see that feature.
Never surrender.
Another example of a special weapon here. We have the crossbow.
This is our defining...
Obviously a story mission of some kind or a landmark, perhaps a Dark Zone landmark, we don't know, but a nice internal building layout, another skill.
To take back our country. Our chance to shape history.
agents with
This kind of reminds me of the Colonel Bliss helicopter at the end of the original first campaign, the first game's campaign. If we do see actual helicopters incorporated in a more dynamic way rather than just one single mission where you take it down, that would be very cool. Remains to be seen. Dropping some enemies, seems right. And there you go, there you have it, that's the whole commercial. So what this essentially amounts to is a basic level marketing hype up campaign. We're getting closer to launch, so expect this type of thing to surface more and more often. There will be more information coming out because up till now they've done a relatively small amount of hyping up. They've done a relatively small amount of generating interest in their game, which they really need to step up if they want to make this sequel a success. Because a lot of players, a lot of previous players that played the original game are not currently hyped for this. There is, of course, the small base community that is going to be hyped about this no matter what. They've already pre-ordered. They pre-ordered like 6 months ago or whatever, and they're just going to eat up every single thing that Ubisoft offers regarding Division because that's just who they are. But a lot of players played the original game and they did not like it. It was very disappointing at launch. And since then, they've really had no interest in the title at all. So this sequel does need to do these types of releases. It does need to have more trailers, and there does need to be more information given to get a lot of people hyped up, because right now, it's not really in a position to compete with other titles that are coming out. But I believe it will be by the end of it all. Anyways, that's really all there is to say. I have a genuinely positive reaction to this trailer, but I'm not overwhelmed. I like that it's a very honest representation of what we're going to get. I like that they're giving out more information. There's not a whole lot that we can extrapolate. I do hope that the DLC returns with Underground and Survival, and Last Stand and things like that. I hope modes like that are present in Division 2 at launch. It does appear to me, for, you know, with all the information that I've got my hands on, it does appear to be in a superior position to the original game, going into, you know, February, going into its private beta and then its public beta. I think it's public beta. Going to its private beta at least, and then into launch. It clearly is in a better spot than the original game. The original game had a lot of problems with the engine. They finally ironed them out, but then it wasn't what was shown at E3. Now it appears to be an accurate product representation, and that's really cool to see. That's about it, though. I like the trailer, but I'll wrap it up there and stop rambling. Check out the links down below if you want to support the channel. This is something I normally wouldn't do, but Division 2 is a really huge thing for this channel. I've been covering... That's how I started the original content that I produce. I started with Division 1 and grew the channel, and that's how I was able to become a creator. So I will be focusing, at least partially, on Division 2. But that is going to wrap it up. Check out the links down below if you want to support a bunch of different ways, merch, etc. But yeah, I'll cut it there in actuality. Thank you for watching, and have a nice night.